Hello everyone, welcome back. This is session 3 of day 3 of our online faculty development program on blockchain technology. Today we have with us in this session Mr. Abhishek Singh. Abhishek Singh is a staff research engineer and a part of blockchain team in IBM Research Lab India. He began his career at IBM Research Lab India and having a total experience of more than 4 years. He did his MTech in computer science, specialization in cryptography from ISI Kolkata. He has published several papers in top conferences and patents on his name. His ADOS number is 3. His extracurriculum interests are trekking, traveling, badminton, sketching, and many more. So, a warm welcome to Abhishek. Uh, Abhishek, you can now take over from here.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for this introduction. I'm going to take over in this session, the hands-on session on Hyperledger Fabric. In last two sessions, my colleague Krishna Suri covered mostly about Hyperledger Fabric. So I hope you all are now you are comfortable with Hyperledger Fabric and you have understood the concepts and the basics of Hyperledger Fabric. So in this session, I am going to explain about how to set up Hyperledger Fabric, and I will show you one simple smart contract that I'm going to deploy, and I'm going to execute some transaction on that smart contract. So yeah, before that, I hope you all have installed all the prerequisites and the Fabric version that we are going to use in this session. So in this particular curl command, I requested you to install version 2.0.1 and version 2.0.1.24.6. But in this session, I am just going to take you over 1.4 because that is much more easier to understand. And later on, if you have any query about that, you can ask me. And if you want to understand what is there in the version 2.0, I can also take that up. So when you run this command, it will just clone the Hyperledger Fabric sample repository. That includes all the scripts that we are going to use, all the smart contracts that we are going to deploy, and many other things. So when you run this above command, it will clone this and check out to some appropriate version tag, and it will also install the Fabric Hyperledger Fabric platform specific binaries and config files. And it would also download the Hyperledger Fabric Docker images that we are going to use to spin up our Fabric network. So yeah, so this is the first step. So let me just first explain you what is the smart contract that I'm going to use first, and how to write the smart contract in Hyperledger Fabric. Then I can take you through all these scripts that we have to generate, to create network, and to do anything with the network. So this is a simple smart contract that I'm going to use. So in this smart contract, what we are doing is that there are two variables, A and B, and you can take this as two accounts, A and B. And we have initialized those accounts with some amount, suppose 100 and 200. And there are several other invoked functions that are present in this smart contract that will change the state of those variables to some other state. So suppose if we want to transfer one amount from account A to account B, then there is one function inside the smart contract that will do that transformation. And if we want to query some amount balance of that particular account, then we can use this function to query that amount. So when we create the smart contract, there are several things that we have to keep in our mind is that. So firstly, we have to, these are the major two functions that are defined in the smart contract, init and invoke. So in each and every smart contract, you have to define these two functions, and these are the major functions that are used to communicate with our smart contract and the Hyperledger Fabric network. So whenever we call the initialization transaction in our network, so then this function executes and perform the everything that is defined in this uh, piece of block. And suppose if we want to do some transaction on the blockchain network, then there is this function that is called when we call the particular smart contract. So these two functions are major. This is just for the initialization of the smart contract, and this is for the invocation of the smart contract. So let me explain you what's in this, what's in the here. So when we call this init transaction, so there is a stub interface that is defined in Hyperledger Fabric. So over here in this particular piece of code, what we are doing is that we are just initializing some values to some accounts. So over here, we have defined two strings, A and B, and we are initializing some values to it. So when we have, what we have to do is that, so in the arguments, we are going to pass on the variable names and some initialized value. So the variable name, the values will come over here, and we have to convert these, because these are in string, we have to convert these into a integer value. So this function we have to use to convert it to a some value. Once we have converted those values to something integer value, string values to some integer value, then there is a stub.putState function that is of shim utility of Hyperledger Fabric that is used to store the state of that variable. So in that part, so whenever we have to store something inside the blockchain network in Hyperledger Fabric, we have to call this function inside our code, that is stub.putState. And this first variable is what is the variable name, that means the key, and the second thing is a value. So whatever the thing that is stored in the blockchain is just in a key value pair. So this is actually a key, and what is the value. So when we call this initialization function and we pass on the four parameter, one is variable name, the value of that variable, and the second variable name, and the second value of that particular variable, that is A, B, and the values for both the accounts. So when we call the put state, we pass on the variable name and the value assigned to it. It will just store that particular value in the state of the blockchain network, blockchain ledger, and we can use that particular state later on whenever we do other transaction. So similarly, we have to store that value, key and value of variable A, and key and value of variable B. So this is the initialization. So we have initialized some value to variable A and variable B. Now this is the major another function that we have to write in our smart contract, that is invoke. And inside that we can use some if and else case. Suppose there are several sub tasks that we have to perform on some smart contract. So suppose in that case, suppose we have to do some transfer. So in that case, we can write some function that will do the transfer logic, and we can call it from here. So in this particular call, we are going to pass on the function name. What is the name we have to, what is the name of the function we have to call, and what are the parameters. So when we use this function to get function and the parameters, it will extract out the function name and the argument from our request. And based on the function, it will call the appropriate function that we have defined in our smart contract. So in this particular scenario, in this particular example, we have three functions: invoke, delete, and query. What invoke will do is that we can name it as transfer, or name it some other way also. So as you can see, don't confuse with the names, because this is in capitals and this is in small. So over here, if I say the transfer, then I have to call that particular transfer function over here. Okay, so in that case, in this particular function, what I am using is that I am transferring some amount from A account to B. So whenever I will call this function, I mean, I will do a transaction for transfer. I will pass on three parameters. One is account variable one, account variable B two, that is A and B, and what amount I have to transfer, that is some 10, 20, or 30. Then it will call this particular function internally, and then firstly what it will do is that it will extract arguments 0 and 1 from the arguments that we have passed, that is variable names, that is A and B, and then it will try to extract the value that is assigned to that particular variable in our blockchain state. So as you know, in the init function, we stored some value, right, using put state. So whenever we have to retrieve the value for that particular variable, we have to use get state function. So using this get state function, we can get the bytes of that particular value, and later on we can convert that byte to some integer value. Similarly, we have to retrieve a value for account B, and then in this particular part, what we are doing is that we are extracting X amount from account A and adding X amount to account B. Now we have added and subtract the respective amount from both the account. Now we have to update our state. To update our state, we have to use the same function, the put state. That means we are going to update a value for this particular key. So now the key will be same as A. Now and the value will be the new value, that is aval minus X. And similarly, we have to update the state for variable B. So this is a simple example that we are going to use in our today's session, that we are going to use the transfer function, and we are going to just query that what is the updated balance. So this is the first step. So this is already there in the particular fabric sample directory that we have cloned. We have to use this script to generate some certificates. So as Krishna Suri mentioned that in our Hyperledger Fabric network, there are peer, orders, and other entities. Each entities have their certificate and keys so that they can communicate and connect with each other. And there are some genesis blocks. So as we know, the blockchain is a series of blocks, and the first block is a genesis block, and that genesis block contains all the information about information about the network, that how many peers are there, how many orders are there, what all are the clients. All this information is present in genesis block. So this script will generate all the certificate and keys, genesis block, and all the configuration transaction that we have to use to configure our channel. So over here, I have cloned this repository that so if you go over here, right, so this is a fabric samples. Inside that, you have to go to first network directory. So now there is a script byfn.sh. Now I have to use this generate thing to generate all the certificates and genesis block for my channel. And remember over here, I have named my channel as my channel. Okay, now once it is done, it will create all the certificates. So generating certificate using Cryptogen tool, it has generated a certificate for organizations, that peers that we have, orders that we have. And after that, it will create some channel configuration transaction. Okay, so in our network, whatever we have so all the parties has to be part of some channel. So for that, before that, we have to create some channel transaction so that we can onboard all the parties to that particular channel. And in this network, so in this network, what we are using is that we have two organizations, and each organization have two peers, and there is an order that is separate part. So for each organization, we have to define what is the anchor peer. So anchor peer is over here is that whenever one organization wants to communicate with another organization, that communication has to be go through anchor peer. So we have to assign one of the peer to be an anchor peer. So for that, we have to generate anchor peer transaction, and for organization 1 and for organization 2. So for this, using this generate script, we have created all the transactions that we have to use and all the certificates that we have to use. So as you can see, now this is a channel artifacts. If I go over here, now you can see, right? So this is our channel configuration transaction. This is our Genesis block, and these two are our anchor peer transaction. So whenever we have to update anything, so firstly we have to submit this transaction to our network, so that network will create a channel for us, and then we'll submit these two transactions to update our anchor peers for both the organizations. So this is the first step. And as you can see over here, if I go to there is one directory created named as crypto-config. So if I go over here, yes. So now if I do tree over here, so now you can see that there is one order organization and there is one peer organization, and inside that we have multiple certificates and key. That is, so for each organization there is a CA, there is MSP, and what all are the orders in that organization, and for all orders what are the certificate keys and alls that we have to use. So that particular command generate all the certificate for us based on some config file that we have defined. So in this particular thing that we have all the order organization and all the peer organization. So if I go to peer part, now as you can see that in our in this particular sample network, we are using two organization, and each organization is having two peers. So over here in this structure, there is a subdirectory org1.example.1 that is for the organization 1, and all the certificates and keys are there inside this directory. And inside this organization we have two peers, peer 0 and peer 1, that belongs to org1, and all the certificates are there in that particular directory. And there is another organization org2, and similarly we have two peers for that. So this is just a single command that we have used to generate all the certificate keys, Genesis block, and configuration transactions. Now let's go to next step, is to just bring up the network and do all the invoke and query transaction that we have to do. So this is just a simple script. Later on I will just take you through step by step what is happening inside the script, and we'll do all the steps manually. So let's run this command. Now this command will spin up our network, spin up all the containers that we want to use, peer container or order container, and create a network. And then this script will try to install, create a channel, and it will and then all the peers will join that channel, and it will install the chain code and instantiate the chain code and perform some transactions. So let's see what's happening. Yeah, so over here, as you can see that all the containers are running. So in this network, we have four peers. That means this peer, this peer, this peer, and this peer, and one single order. Okay, so now it has created a channel. So using this command, so we'll do it manually later. So it has created a channel over network, and peer 0 of org1 has joined the channel, and peer 1 of org1 joined the channel. Similarly, peer 0 of org2 joined the channel, and similarly peer 1 org2 joined the channel. Now we have all the peers have joined the channel. Now we have to update the anchor peers for all the organization. Over here we have two organization, and each organization having two peers. So we have to assign one anchor peer for all the organizations. So we have assigned one anchor peer for organization 1 using this command, and similarly anchor peer for organization 2 using this command. Now the next step is to install the chain code on the network. So to install the chain code, we have to install the chain code on all the peers who are going to interact with the chain code. So over here, in this particular scenario, what we are doing is that we are just installing the chain code on peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2. We are not installing a chain code on peer 1 of org1 and peer 1 of org2. So this is a command that we have to use to install a chain code. So we have installed the chain code on peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2. Next thing is to instantiate the chain code. Once we have installed the chain code on all the peers on which we want to do some transactions and all, now we have to instantiate the chain code on the channels. So once the initialization is done, the chain code will be initialized with some default values. So over here, what we have passed in the argument is that the function name, that is init, and the variable name, that is account name, that is A, and some amount assigned to it, that is 100, and another account B, and amount assigned to that is 200. And this is our policy, endorsement policy, that we have to use is that whenever someone submits some transaction, right? So uh, uh, that particular transaction will commit only both the peers from both the organization. At least one peer from both the organization has signed the transaction and endorsed the transaction. Once it is there, then only we will commit the transaction, otherwise we'll reject the transaction. So this is the policy that we have defined while initializing the chain code. So whenever we are going to do some invoke transaction or query transaction on the particular chain code, we have to go through that peer, and that particular transaction will go to other peer, other organization also. When both the organizations endorse the transaction, then only it will go to order, and order will check that uh, all the endorsements are there, then only it will commit the transaction. So now this chain code is instantiated. Now what we are doing is that we are trying to query a chain code on peer 0 org1. So what we are doing is that we are calling this command, and we are trying to call the function query and passing a variable name, that is A, and hence it is returning us the 100 value because that is the initialized value. Now in the next step, what we are doing is that we are doing an invoke transaction. That means we are transferring X amount from account A to account B. So over here in the arguments, what we are passing is that function name, that is small I invoke, a variable name A, that is account A and account B, and how much amount we are going to transfer, that is 10. Okay, so once it is done, the invoke transaction is successful. Now we are going to query the chain code again. So we are going to query what is the value of A. Now it has returned 90. So this is the whole thing that we are going to do manually now. So in this particular experiment, what we did is that we have spin up our network, created a channel, all the peer has joined the channel, and then we have installed the chain code, instantiate the chain code, and we have performed some invoke transactions. So before that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to down the network again. Okay, now if I do Docker PS over here, as you can see, there is no container active as of now. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to do all the steps that we did in this script manually. So this is our basic fabric network that we are trying to deploy. There is there are two organizations, organization 1 and organization 2, and each organization is having two peers, peer 0 peer 1 and peer 0 peer 1, and there is an ordering service, and all these things comes together create a Hyperledger Fabric network. So the first step is to generate these certificates and config transactions. So for that, we are going to use this CryptoGen. So there are two tools, CryptoGen tool and Config TXGen tool. CryptoGen tool is used to generate a set of certificates and key for both the organizations and all the components that are belong to those organizations. So over here we have 4 peers and one order. So we are going to use this CryptoGen tool to generate all the certificates and keys for that. And second tool is that Config TXGen tool. This particular tool is used to generate configuration artifacts. That means that we have to create a Genesis block for our order and channel configuration transaction, that is channel transaction, and anchor peer transactions also. So let me just before that, let me take you to so this particular CryptoGen tool, we are going to use generate command, and we have to specify the config file that we are going to use to generate a certificate for that. So this is cryptoconfig.yaml file. If we go to this first network, and there is cryptoconfig.yaml file present, and this tool is going to use the same file. And over here what we have defined is that in the order org, what all certificate orders that we have to what all certificates and keys that we have to create for this organization, and for peer organization, how many organizations are there and what are the domain names and all are there. And this count is used to how many peers that are belongs to this particular organization. So over here there are 2 peers. Similarly for organization 2 we are going to create 2 peers. So let me run this command. So this is the command, uh, CryptoGen generate config and the path of the YAML file. Now it has created organization 1 and organization 2, and I mean the certificates for both the organization and for the order also. So this is same as if I go to if I do channel ls in crypto config, then there are there are two directories, order organization and peer organization. Inside the order organization there is order related certificates and keys, and for peer organization they are peer related certificates and keys for both the organization. Now the next step is to generate the config ts config transaction for our channel. Okay, so over here, so no, sorry, so for in this particular step, first we are going to create a Genesis block. So how we are going to use this command is that we have to specify the tool name, and there is a profile defined in our config.yaml file, and that I'll take you through that file also. This is the profile that we are going to use, that to organization order Genesis block that we have to create. What is the channel ID for the order? This channel ID is different from the channel ID that we are going to use for the peers. So this channel ID is for the order, and this is the output path over where we have to generate our Genesis block. Yeah, so before that, let me take you through that config.tx.yaml file. So this is our config.tx.yaml file. Over here, what we have defined is that these are the organization. There is one organization for order, there is one organization for org1, and there is one organization for org2. So over here, as you can see, right, so in the org1, we have defined the anchor peers. So over here, we have defined that peer 0 org1 will be the anchor of that particular org1, and the port number that is assigned to that is 7051. And these are various policies that we have to use. And this is actually the MSP ID and the MSP directory where all the certificates are present. So this is just a configuration .yaml file. Using this, we are going to create all the certificates and keys for that. And sorry, all the transactions and Genesis block. Similarly, for org2, we have defined the anchor peer, that is peer 0 org2, and the port will be 9051. So if we go down over here in this profiling thing, so in this profiles, we have several profile mentioned. So we are going to use this to_org order genesis to create a genesis block, and we are going to use to_org channels to create a channel transactions and anchor peer transactions. And there are other profiles also. So right now in this session, we are just going to use solo order. There are different type of orders are there, that is Kafka, Raft, and other things also. So there are profiles defined for that also. For Kafka, this is this, and for Raft, this is this. So, but for this, we are just going to use a solo order. Okay, so over here, yes, so over here we have defined a solo, and if we want to change this order type to some Kafka and etc draft, then we have to change it to Kafka and etc draft and use the specific profile. And these are actually the batch size and block batch timeout. So there are two major terms in the block. So whenever all the transactions are submitted, once the transactions are endorsed, all the transactions are submitted to order, then order will create a block, and that block will depend on these two parameters. That means, so actually the block will contains all the transactions and the metadata and the parameters, that argument that are passed to those transactions. So once the that particular block size maximum bytes is this and preferred byte is this is exceeds, then there will be a block created. And there is another thing is that after 2 seconds, one block is created irrespective of what is the size of that particular block. Okay, so these two things are major to create a block by order. So this is actually a time to wait. Once 2 seconds lapsed, it will create a block if there are some transactions. And once this size is exceeds, then it will create a block. And within 2 seconds, if this that particular block contains 99 MB, then it will create the block. So you can configure this based on your requirement. If you want to change it to 5 second, 1 second, or some millisecond, you can change it. And even over here, if you want the size of a block to be very minimum, you can change these parameters, and similarly create order genesis block and channel transactions. So this is this, and if we define Kafka over here, then we are going to use this brokers, and if we define etc draft over here, then it will use these consenters and all. So this is actually a high level overview of the config transaction that we are going to use to create a genesis block and channel transactions. So for this command, let me copy this. Yeah, so over here, as you can see, if I run this command, now it has created a genesis block, generating a genesis block and writing genesis block. And if I go to this channel artifacts, now you can see that genesis.block has created. Okay, so now we have created a genesis block for our order. Now the next step is to create a channel configuration transaction. So in this case, what we have to do is that we have to create a channel transaction, and we have to create the anchor peer transactions. So firstly, let me just export this channel, because I am going to name the channel as my channel. So I am just creating this environment variable, and I am using this command to create channel transaction. Okay, so let me take you to this. So this is the tool that I'm going to use. What is the profile? So as you can see, while creating a genesis block, I have used to org order genesis profile, And for this, I am using 2orgs channel. And this is the path of my channel creation transaction, where it will store the channel transaction and what is the name of the channel, that is channel ID, that is I've defined my channel. Now if I do ls in my channel artifacts, now you can see channel.tx is there and one Genesis block. Now the next step is to create an anchor peer for both the organization 1 and organization 2. In this, what I am going to use is that profile name is same, and this is the path of the anchor peer transaction where I want to create that transaction, and what is the channel ID and for which org I am going to create anchor peer. So over here I'm going to use I'm going to create a anchor peer for org1 MSP, and using this command I'm going to create a anchor peer for org2. So this is the over here you have to define your organizations. This is the first command and this is the second command. If I do now, as you can see, org1 MSP anchor dot transaction is there and org2 MSP transaction is there. Now we have created all the transaction and Genesis block. Now the next step is to create a network. And to create a network, we are going to use all these transactions and Genesis block. So the next step is to use this Docker Compose file that we have created to spin up our network. So let me take you to this Docker Compose CLI. So this is syntax of Docker Compose to create a containers for us. So over here we are creating 6 containers. So one is for order, other 4 are for peers, that is org0 or peer 0 org1, peer 1 org1, peer 0 org2 and peer 1 org2. And there is one CLI container that I'm going to create just to submit transaction. So if I do not create this CLI transaction, in that case, whenever I have to submit a transaction, I have to go to these container, exec into these container and submit a transaction. To ease my thing, I am just creating CLI and I'm going to submit all the transaction from the CLI container. So as you can see, there are some file defined over here. So this is actually, these files are defined in this peer base. So these are the major environment variable that we are going to assign to all the container. And this is the actual command that we are going to use to start our peer. So the command is peer node start. When container run, it will run this command and it will start the peer inside that container. And for order, we are going to use this order command. So when the container runs, it will run this command to run the order inside that container. So this is actually our Docker Compose CLI file that we are going to use to create a network. So for that, we are going to use Docker Compose. Yeah, we have to pass on the file name, that is cli.yaml, and up is used to spin up all the containers that are defined in this YAML file, and -d is to for the detached mode. If I do not pass on -d, then it will print all the logs over here. So what I am going to do is that I am just going to pass on this parameter, and whenever I have to see the logs for any of the container, I can just do docker log command to check for the logs for that container. Okay, so I have to wait for 4 to 5 seconds for this to complete. So if I do docker ps over here, now you can see all the peers are created, order is created, and one CLI container is created that I'm going to use to submit transaction to my network. Okay, so now I have created a network. Now the next step is to submit the transactions to create a channel, submit a transaction to update my anchor peers for both the organization. So in the next step, this is the command that I'm going to use to create a channel. So what I have was before that, I have to exec into my CLI container so that I can submit those transactions to my network. So that's why I have created a CLI container, and now I am going to enter inside the CLI container to submit these transactions. So docker exec minus IT CLI then bash. Now I am inside the CLI container. So right now I am inside this particular path of that my container. So now if I do ls over here, now as you can see, all the channel artifacts, crypto and the scripts that are there are present inside this container. So remember, I created this channel artifacts and crypto outside this container. Now these are mapped to my container based on all the configuration that I have defined in my Docker Compose file. Now the next step is to set all these variables. So for that, because this container, I'm going to use this container for all the peers. So suppose if I have to submit a transaction on peer 1, then I have to assign some environment variables that are for the peer 1 to this CLI so that it can submit a transaction on behalf of peer 1. Similarly, if I have to submit a transaction for peer 0 of org2, I have to assign some environment variable that are related to that peer 0 org2 so that it can submit transaction on behalf of that particular peer. Okay, so if you look over here, let me take you to this. So these are the environment variable that I am assigning. So this is the path of my MSP that I have created. And this is the peer address that I have to use, that is core peer address, that is peer 0 org1. Now this CLI will act as a peer 0 org1. And what is the MSP ID? That is this peer is associated to org1. And what are the TLS root certificate that we have to use for this particular peer? So I have defined all these environment variable in CLI container so that it can act as peer 0 org1. Now I have to create a channel. So to create a channel, I have to submit this transaction, that is peer channel create. What is the order URL? That is I have to pass on minus O and the URL and the port of that order. So remember in config Docker Compose, I have named as order.example.com. And what is the port it is exposing is 7050. So I have to use this particular URL and port to submit my channel transaction to order. And what is the channel name that I have to use? So I have to export this channel name, that is my channel, and it will use my channel as this -c parameter. And what is the transaction that I have to submit? So remember I have created this channel.txt. So I'm going to use this transaction to submit to my order so that it can create a channel for us. And these are other parameters. What is TLS assigned, enabled or not, and what is the CA file is there. So CA file is actually the certificate for that TLS CA. So I have to use these two commands to create a transaction, to create a channel. So first I'm going to export this name. And this is the transaction. This is the command that I'm going to use to create a channel. Now this channel is this transaction is submitted to order, and order has created a channel for us. And inside that there is now there is a channel in our network. Now what we have to do is that we have to join that channel. So all the peer has to join the channel so that they can be a part of that channel and then communicate with each other. So now once we submit this particular channel.txt transaction to this order, Now the transaction will be a part of that blockchain ledger, and it will contain all the information about who all will be the part of that particular channel and everything. Because in the channel transaction we have defined that there will be a two organization and each organization will have two peers. So all this information is present in this channel transaction, and this channel transaction is now a part of a blockchain network. Now we have created a channel. The next step is to join the channel. Now first what we have to do is that right now what we are going to do is that we are just going to uh, as, we are just joining peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2 to the channel. We are not joining peer 1 and peer 1 of org1 and peer 1 of org2. Just to see, let's see what's happened if we do some transaction for peer 1 without joining the channel. So let's just join these two peers on the channel. So for that, what we have to do is that we have to use this command peer channel join, and we have to specify the block, my channel block. So it will create a block for us. Now it has successfully joined. Now what we have to do is that we have already joined this peer to our network. Now what we have to do is that we have to use this same command uh, uh, to join the channel for peer 0 org2. Before that, right now our CLI is working as peer 0 org1. So in that case, we have to assign all these environment variable that are for org2, so that our CLI will act as peer 0 org2. So for that, I'm using all these environment variable. Now the CLI container is acting as a peer 0 of org2. Now I'm going to use this command again to join the channel. So now peer has joined the channel. Right now in this channel, there are only two peers that are joined. That is peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2. Now the next step is to update the anchor peer. So for that, what we have to do is that uh, we have already created an anchor peer transaction. Now we have to submit that anchor peer transaction to our network so that our network knows about who is the anchor peer of that particular org. So this particular command we have to run for both the organization 1 and organization 2. So for that, I have to again changing the CLI container to act as a peer 0 of org1. So that's why I am just using the same parameter environment variables for peer 0 org1. Now what I'll do is that I'll submit this peer channel update command. So right now the channel transaction that is a part of that blockchain network doesn't know about who is the anchor peer of that particular organization. So now we have to submit the transaction, and in that transaction what we are saying is that this particular peer will be an anchor of that particular organization. So that to do that we have to use this command peer channel update. So this will update the channel configuration transaction. That channel will know about that this is a or anchor peer of this organization. So what we are doing is that we are using peer channel update. We are passing this command to order example.com 70.7050, and what is the channel name? That is my channel. And what is the transaction that we are going to use? So this is the transaction org1 msp anchors.tx that we have created earlier, and what is the CA file and all these things. So I'm going to run this command. Now this transaction is successfully submitted, and now channel knows about that peer 0 org1 is now an anchor peer of organization 1. Similarly, we have to do for peer 0 of org2. Now for that again I have to configure my CLI, and now I have to submit the transaction. That is transaction, that is org to msp anchor.tx that I have created. Now I'll submit this particular transaction to my network, so that channel knows about, network knows about this particular peer 0 org2 is an anchor peer of org2. Okay, now our network knows about everything, that they are this is the channel, and these are the anchor peers of that channel. Now the next part is to install and instantiate the chain code. So first, so to install a chain code on all the peers, so who wants to use that chain code must have the chain code installed on that peer. So over here, what we are doing is that right now we know that peer 0 of org1 has joined the channel, and peer 0 of org2 has joined the channel. Peer 1 and peer 1 of org1 and peer 1 of org2 has not joined the channel. So right now what we are doing is that we are just installing the chain code on these peers. So for that, I am again configuring my CLI container to peer 0 of org1 and submitting this transaction. So this command. So what this command is that peer channel install. What is the name of the chain code that we want to use? So this is the, and what is the path? So we know that we are going to use this chain code example 02. So this is same as this. Inside this chain code example 02, and inside that we have a go chain code. So we are going to use this particular chain code, and we are naming it as mycc, and what is the version of that chain code. And this particular command will install the chain code on our peer 0 of org1 with this name and this version. Now it has returned that installed remotely, response is success 200, status is 200, and payload is okay. So right now what I have done is that I have installed the chain code on peer 0. Now I have to install the chain code on org2, peer 0 of org2. So now again I have to configure my CLI for peer 0 org2 and submit the same command, that peer chain code install. Chain code name should be same because all the peer wants to communicate with each other via this chain code, and they are going to use the same chain code. So the chain code name should be same and the version should be same, and what is the path of that particular chain code that we are going to use. Again, this is success. Now the next step, now we have installed the chain code. Now the next step is to instantiate the chain code, and instantiation means that we have to initialize some value to that, and we are going to instantiate the chain code on the channel. So let me take you to this. So right now, as you can see, there are only six containers, four for peer, one for order, and one is for CLI. Now, if I submit this instantiation transaction command, that will say that I have to instantiate this chain code, this particular on this channel, and this is the name of the chain code, and this is the version 1.0, and what is the argument that I am going to pass. So the argument is inside the chain code, I have to call init function, and these are the parameters that I have to pass to that init function. So as you can see, this is my init function. So when I run that command, the chain code will run, and this particular function of the chain code will run, and it will use all the parameters that I am going to pass, that is A as 100, B as 200, and assigning and initializing these values and updating the state with variable A and variable B and assigning the value to those states variable. So this step will take some time because it will create a containers for that chain code. So right now what it is doing is that it is creating a container for all the for that particular chain code on all the peers that has joined the channel. If you have any doubt, you can ask.
There are no doubts as of now.
Okay. Now this is successful. If I run docker ps over here, now you can see that it is installed, instantiated. So as you can see that chain code is installed and instantiated on peer 0 of org2, and via peer 0 of org2 right now this CLI is configured to peer 0 org2, and this is now created a container on peer 0 of org2 for that particular chain code. So as you know that peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2 has joined the channel. So ideally there should be two containers, one for peer 0 org1 and one for peer 0 org2. Right now, as I have submitted that particular instantiation transaction command from peer 0 org2, that's why it has created a container for that. So when I submit some invoke transaction, at that time it will create a peer container for that peer also. So now this is done, that we have installed and instantiated the chain code on our channel. Now the next step is to query our chain code. So as we know that our value of A is assigned to 0 and value of B is assigned to 100, and value of A is assigned to 100 and value of B is assigned to 200. Let's see what is the value. So for that we have to use this query chain code transaction commands, a peer chain code query. On what channel we have to submit this transaction, and for what chain code, and what are the arguments. So arguments is query, I have to query, and what variable I have to query. So in this example, so when I submit this peer chain code query command, it will go to this chain code and it will actually invoke this, call this particular function of the chain code, because this is a main function. Whenever we are going to submit any transaction or do any call to a transaction chain code, it will go via this. So it will just first do an invoke, and inside that it will extract function and arguments from our parameters. So over here I have passed on the function name as query, and what is the parameter. So function name is query, so it will go over here and it will look for if else case, and if the function name is query, it will just call the function query. So over here the query function is this, and in this it will just pass on the argument over here will be now A, and now it will just take this argument in variable A and try to get the state of that particular variable. So it will call that stub function get state to get the value that is assigned to variable A, and once it is retrieved it will just respond us back what is the name and the amount. So let me try to run this command. So now it has returned 100 to us. Okay, so now this is the first step. Now let me try to transfer the some amount from A account to B. For this is the command that I have to use, peer chain code invoke, and to order I have to submit, because this particular query transaction, it is not going through the endorsement phase and everything, because uh, that particular peer knows about the ledger state. So when we are going to call that peer with the query command, it will just return the value of that particular variable. And in case if we have to perform some action on that particular variable, that is state of the ledger, in that case it will create a transaction, it will go to endorsement phase, it will go to ordering phase, and then it will go to committing phase. So that's why in this case we have not passed on the order URL and all, but while invoking, because in this invoking case what we are doing is that we are performing some update on the variables of the ledger. So over here what we are doing is that peer chain code invoke, we are passing the order path and some TLS certificates and O. The TLS is true certificate for that, and this is the actual argument that we are going to pass. So we are going to call the invoke function. So over here again it will go to this function first, it will retrieve function and arguments. Now the function is named as invoke. In this it will call the invoke function and pass on the parameters a, b and 10. That means this function will transfer amount 10 from A to B. So let's try to run this command. Now this particular command is going through endorsement, ordering and committing. Okay, now as you can see, earlier there was only one container running for peer 0 org2. Now it is creating a container for peer 1 org1. Peer 0 org1 also, because that peer 0 org1 has also installed the chain code, but that container was not available to us to that. But right now we have submitted an invoke transaction, that's why it is creating a container for that peer also. Now as you can see, now there are two containers. Earlier the container was for just peer 0 org2, and that is the smart contract container. Now it has created a container for peer 0 org1 also. Now this chain code invoke is successful. Now let me try to query that again. Now the amount of A is reduced to 90, and the amount of B will be now 210. Initialized it was initialized with 200. So now we have successfully transferred 10 from account A to account B. So now next step is to so right now we have installed peer on peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2. Now let's try to query the same thing from org1 of from peer 1 of org2, because this particular chain code is not installed on that. So right now what I am doing is that I am just configuring my CLI for peer 1 of org2. So this is the peer 1 of org2 and this is the org2 MSP ID. So I am configuring this CLI to act as peer 1 of org2, and remember this particular peer has not installed the chain code. Now let's try to call this chain code. So it is showing that access denied, and even this peer has not joined the channel. Remember, we have just joined peer 0 and peer 0 of org1 and peer 0 of org2 to the channel. So now the next step is to just join this channel, this peer to that particular channel. So what we are doing is that we are running this command peer channel join. So we are joining the channel. Now it has joined the channel, and now we are installing the peer, the chain code on that particular peer. So the command will be same, peer chain code install, name of the chain code, version and the path. Now that it has installed the chain code on that peer 1 of org2. Now if I query the chain code now what it will do is that it will create a container for that peer, for the chain code. So right now it is creating a container, chain code container for peer 1 org2. So that's why it's taking some time for query. Once it is available, then we can query. So let's wait. Yeah, so I have queried from peer 1 of org2. Now, because before that, it has returned me an error that access is denied because that peer has not joined the channel, and even the chain code was not installed on that peer. So now I have joined the peer and installed the chain code on that particular peer. Now I am able to query the chain code. So now as you can see that there are 3 containers running for there is one chain code container running for peer 1 org2 and one container running for peer 0 org1 and one container for peer 0 org2. So similarly, if I have to call it for peer 1 org1, then I have to assign the parameters environment variables accordingly, and then I have to join the channel and install the chain code, and then I can do a query and invoke. So as you can see that without joining a channel, we cannot do anything. So to be a part of that chain code, we have to join the channel and we have to install the chain code also, so that we can communicate with the chain code. So that's all that I have for this session. So just to summarize, right? So what we did is that firstly, we had created a channel configuration transactions and configuration transaction, Genesis block, and all the certificates and keys. Then we spun up the containers to create a network. Then what we did is that we had submitted a channel transaction to our network so that our network knows about that this is the channel. After that, we had submitted anchor peer transaction so that the channel knows and the network knows about that on this channel, this is the anchor peer of this organization and this is the anchor peer of this organization. After that, what we did is that on the peers, we installed the channel, a chain code, and instantiated the chain code. Once that was done, then we did invoke and query on that particular chain code. So that's how you can create a chain code. Create a setup for the Fabric network and create your own chain code in Go, Java, Node.js, and install the chain code on this network and instantiate, and then perform all that action that we are going to perform. So just for that exercise, you can try this implementing the simple chain code just for the car ownership provenance tracking. So what you have to do is that over here, so in the earlier experiment, what we did is that the asset was A and the asset was B. and there was some value assigned to A and B. Similarly, over here in the car ownership, we have to create an asset for car that will have some property, that what is the color of the car, what is the model number of that car, who is the owner of that car. So we have to create these, initialize these variables in our network, these car assets in our network. Then we have to do a transfer ownership transaction, so that we can change some of the variable of some of the car to transfer the car from user A to user B. So you can try to implement this chain code and perform these steps and try to test it out. Yeah, that's all we have. Any questions?
If you have any of you have any question, please you can write in the chat box.
You can connect me after this session also, and I will send my email ID, and you can connect me on that also if you have any doubt.
Okay. Maybe you can write your email ID here on the slide so that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is my email ID, and this is my contact number. You can contact me also.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for such a nice presentation and hands-on session on Hyperledger Fabric. Dear participants, if you have any questions, so whenever you try doing these things by yourself and you get any sort of problem, you can contact with Abhishek on the email ID and contact number shared by him. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abhishek, once again.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you, all the participants. So, see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. For our day 4 of the FDP. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.